There are mornings when even the act of standing feels heavier than it used to. You look at your hands, the same ones that once carried children, built a life, cooked meals for a family, and you wonder, when did they begin to lose their strength? It happens quietly over the years. A jar becomes harder to open, a chair harder to rise from, and soon the body that once moved freely begins to whisper a warning: feed me differently, or I will fade. Many believe that muscle loss is an inevitable sign of aging, that after 60 the body simply slows down. But that's not entirely true. What science now shows, and what ancient wisdom has always known, is that muscles don't disappear because of age itself, but because of neglect. They weaken when they are not nourished deeply enough, when the body is missing the raw materials it needs to rebuild. Not more pills, not more supplements, but real food. Proteins, minerals, amino acids, the small and silent builders of vitality. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, one of Japan's most respected physicians, lived beyond 100 years with remarkable energy. When people asked for his secret, he smiled and said, "I just kept feeding the fire with the right wood." He wasn't speaking of eating more or less, but of choosing foods that serve a purpose. He saw food as fuel for life itself, each bite either keeping the flame alive or letting it die out. And that flame in the body burns brightest in our muscles. Modern medicine echoes this wisdom in new words. Dr. Mark Hyman calls it food as medicine. He explains that the right nutrients taken at the right times can prevent muscle wasting, frailty, and even the slowing of the metabolism that so often steals our vitality. What we eat shapes not only our health, but our ability to move, to think, to feel alive. The meal on your plate can either age you or awaken you. This is not about dieting or chasing youth. It's about defending what makes life worth living. Your ability to stand, to walk, to lift your arms and hug someone you love. Muscle is not just flesh, it's freedom. It's the difference between watching the world through a window and stepping out into it. And the good news is that this freedom can be reclaimed, not through extreme changes, but through small, deliberate choices in the kitchen. In the next few minutes, we'll explore 7 simple, evidence-backed foods that help the body naturally stop muscle loss after 60. Foods that have nourished elders for generations in places like Okinawa, Sardinia, and the quiet villages of India. Many of them are probably already in your pantry, waiting to be seen again not as ingredients, but as medicine. Because food has always been our first doctor. It teaches the body how to repair, how to grow, how to keep moving. And when we listen to it with the same patience that our grandparents once had, slow cooking, mindful eating, gratitude before every meal, we begin to feed not just the body, but the will to live fully again. So before we begin, take a deep breath. Remember that every meal can be a small act of healing. Muscle isn't just for the young. It belongs to anyone who still has the desire to rise in the morning and greet the day. Aging may change the body, but nourishment, true nourishment, can still renew its strength. Let's begin this with a truth that few people talk about. Protein alone isn't enough. For years we were told that eating enough meat would protect our muscles. The image of strength was always tied to a piece of steak, a glass of milk, or a boiled egg. Yet many who follow this advice still notice their bodies weakening. The reason is simple but often ignored. Protein does not work alone. It is only one note in a symphony of nutrients that must play together. Without magnesium, omega-3s, and amino acids like leucine, the body cannot fully absorb what protein offers. It's like sending a letter without a messenger. No matter how important the message, it never reaches its destination. The body after 60 needs support not just to build muscle, but to use it. Inside each cell, the mitochondria, those tiny engines of energy, are what keep strength alive. When they falter, muscles tire easily, even with proper meals. Modern research has shown that maintaining muscle mass is not only about the quantity of protein, but the quality of the entire nutritional environment surrounding it. Magnesium, found in seeds and leafy greens, helps the body convert food into usable energy. Omega-3 fats reduce the silent inflammation that slowly erodes muscle fibers. Together, they help keep those microscopic engines turning, even when age tries to slow them down. There's a quiet story of a man named Arthur, 74 years old, who had stopped walking to the park because his legs felt heavy. His diet, like many others, was rich in meat but poor in variety. One morning, at his daughter's suggestion, he began adding ground flax, pumpkin seeds, and a spoonful of tahini to his warm oats. It wasn't a miracle or a quick fix, just a steady act of care. Within weeks, he noticed he could rise from his chair without using his hands. His muscles hadn't disappeared. They had simply been waiting for the right nourishment to awaken again. There is a simple rhythm to recovery that many elders in long-living cultures understand. Soak, blend, and simplify. 1 tablespoon of chia or flaxseed soaked overnight becomes a gentle morning tonic, rich in omega-3s, easy to digest, and powerful in rebuilding protein pathways without strain. No special products, no complicated recipes, just food working as nature intended. As you listen, let this phrase settle within you. Protein is the message, but nutrients are the messengers. The body doesn't just need to receive, it needs help translating what it receives into action. Each meal can become a conversation with your cells, reminding them how to repair, how to strengthen, how to move again. And perhaps the most beautiful part is this: the body remembers. Even after years of neglect, it never forgets how to rebuild. With the right signals, those small, consistent gestures of nourishment, it begins to hum again, like an old engine given new oil. What fades is not youth, but the attention we give to the quiet needs within us. And when we start feeding those needs with intention, strength returns not as a surprise, but as something that was always waiting to be rediscovered. There are foods so small that we often overlook them, yet they carry within them the quiet power of renewal. Seeds, sesame, sunflower, pumpkin, humble in appearance, are among the most concentrated sources of strength found in nature. For centuries, they've been part of simple meals prepared by hands that understood nourishment, without needing a laboratory to explain it. Each seed, though tiny, holds the minerals and amino acids that tell the body it's time to rebuild. Inside these seeds live elements of life that the aging body often forgets it needs: zinc, magnesium, tryptophan, nutrients that heal, relax, and repair. Magnesium, in particular, becomes harder to absorb with age, creating a silent chain reaction. Sleep becomes restless, recovery slows, and muscles grow weary. When these small stores of minerals are restored, something subtle begins to shift. Movement feels steadier, and the mind grows quieter, as if the body and spirit start speaking the same language again. Across generations and continents, people have known this truth intuitively. In Japan, elders still toast sesame seeds gently over a pan until their aroma fills the kitchen, then crush them into a paste and blend it with greens or rice. In parts of India, families mix roasted sunflower and pumpkin seeds into lentil stews or grind them with spices to thicken soups. They may not have spoken of magnesium absorption or amino acid profiles, yet their wisdom achieved what modern diets have forgotten, feeding not just the stomach, but the resilience of the entire body. Seeds are the ancestors of all growth. Their structure mirrors what they give: dense, complete, capable of regeneration. When blended into a bowl of yogurt or stirred into a warm soup, they no longer need chewing. Their essence becomes easier to receive. 2 tablespoons of mixed seeds, crushed or blended, bring a slow and steady release of energy, a quiet restoration rather than a surge. They don't demand much from the body, yet they offer much in return. There is an old saying in some rural villages: what is small teaches the body to remember, and that is the secret of seeds. They awaken what time has dimmed, the body's memory of balance, of repair, of strength, returning one fiber at a time. When you think of these tiny foods, imagine them not as additions to a meal, but as reminders of how nature heals in whispers, not shouts. A few spoonfuls of seeds carry the wisdom of the earth itself, patient, consistent, and full of quiet power. In a world that moves too fast, they invite us back to the simplicity that sustains life. Nourishment that is humble, complete, and deeply human. Small seeds, strong signals. The body remembers. There is something sacred about oil, that golden thread running through the meals of long-lived people around the world. In Sardinia, an island where many live past 90 with energy still in their steps, olive oil isn't treated as a luxury or decoration. It is part of life itself. A drizzle over vegetables, a spoonful added to soup, or a quiet sip before a meal. These simple gestures carry centuries of wisdom. They remind the body how to use food not merely as fuel, but as instruction, to restore, to protect, to endure. For decades, people were told to fear fats. The idea of avoiding oils became a symbol of discipline, of health. Yet the truth is gentler and far wiser. Without healthy fats, the body cannot build hormones, cannot absorb essential vitamins, cannot even use protein efficiently. Muscles, like all living tissue, need the presence of good fats to receive nutrients and transform them into movement and energy. When those fats disappear from our diet, the entire system falters, leaving fatigue where strength once was. Science has caught up with what our ancestors already knew. Omega-3 fatty acids, found in cold-pressed olive oil, flax, and certain seeds, reduce inflammation in the muscles and joints, help maintain cellular energy, and support recovery after movement. Researchers have observed that older adults who regularly consume extra virgin olive oil often show greater muscle density and fewer signs of frailty. But beyond the studies and numbers, there is something almost poetic in this. Oil brings flexibility to what time has tried to stiffen. It keeps both the body and the spirit supple. In Sardinia, meals are slow rituals of gratitude. Elders pour olive oil not while cooking, but after the food leaves the fire, to preserve its living properties. The polyphenols that guard the heart, the antioxidants that calm internal inflammation. The oil glistens under the sun as it's poured, a symbol of care passed from one generation to another. It's not about portion or measurement, it's about presence. They trust that what is simple and pure will know how to heal. There's an image worth holding on to: a teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil mixed with a few drops of lemon juice, taken before a meal. The bitterness of the oil, the brightness of the lemon, together they awaken digestion and signal the body that nourishment is coming. This quiet ritual, practiced by countless elders across the Mediterranean, is a lesson in balance. It teaches us that health often lives in what appears ordinary. Oil isn't indulgence, it's instruction for your muscles to rebuild. Each drop tells the body, use this, repair with this, grow stronger with this. It carries the wisdom of sunlight stored in olives, of roots that have held the earth for hundreds of years. When taken with care and gratitude, oil becomes more than food. It becomes a messenger of continuity, connecting your present body with the long chain of those who lived well before you. In the end, vitality isn't born from restriction but from harmony. Where there is balance between fats and fibers, movement and rest, giving and receiving, the body finds its natural rhythm again. And like the elders who still climb hills under the Mediterranean sun, strength returns not as an effort, but as the body's quiet way of saying, "Thank you for remembering me." There is a place in the body where every form of nourishment begins its journey: the gut. Long before science gave it names and measurements, our ancestors understood that if the stomach was at peace, the whole body followed. They spoke of digestion not as a function, but as a rhythm. When that rhythm falters, when the gut grows sluggish and bloated, the strength that once flowed easily through the limbs begins to fade. The muscles weaken, not because they are forgotten, but because the soil that feeds them has lost its balance. Many people notice this quiet imbalance after 60. The stomach grows sensitive, the bowels slow down, and even healthy foods seem harder to process. What often goes unseen is that this disruption steals more than comfort. It steals the body's ability to absorb the very nutrients needed for muscle repair. No matter how nourishing a meal might be, if the gut cannot receive it, it passes like a letter never opened. That is where fermented foods, the ancient living companions of human health, return to the story. Long before refrigeration, people preserved vegetables, milk, and grains through fermentation, allowing beneficial bacteria to flourish. These living cultures transformed ordinary food into something extraordinary, a bridge between nourishment and vitality. Science now confirms that these beneficial bacteria, known as probiotics, support the gut in metabolizing amino acids and minerals, making them available for muscle and tissue repair. In Korea, elders who eat kimchi twice a day have been found to possess stronger grip strength and better balance than those who do not. In Europe, sauerkraut once accompanied every meal, not for flavor alone, but because it made digestion smoother and recovery quicker. In the villages of Eastern Europe, a small cup of kefir before rest was believed to bring not just calm, but resilience for the next day. Each of these habits carried a truth that modern life has nearly forgotten, that strength begins not in the limbs, but in the gut that feeds them. Imagine a modest plate with a spoonful or two of fermented vegetables resting beside your meal, cabbage slowly transformed into sauerkraut, or cucumbers steeped in brine until they awaken with life. In that small portion lies a world of invisible helpers, restoring order where imbalance once reigned. These living foods ask for no ceremony, only presence, a gesture of trust in the wisdom of time and transformation. Strong muscles begin in a thriving gut. Those words hold both simplicity and depth. The body is not a collection of separate parts. It is a single organism, where every function echoes another. When the gut thrives, the blood nourishes. When the blood flows freely, the muscles awaken. When the muscles awaken, the spirit feels ready to move again. To care for digestion is to care for strength, for clarity, for longevity. It is to honor the beginning of all nourishment, where life itself starts to rebuild. The elders of long-living cultures knew this instinctively. They didn't chase perfection, they cultivated harmony, and in that harmony their bodies aged gently, their energy lasting long after the years had accumulated. Aging well is not a matter of fighting decline, but of keeping life in motion, even at the smallest level. The tiny organisms living in fermented foods remind us that vitality can come from the most unexpected places. Within the quiet alchemy of a jar left to ferment, nature shows us the pattern of renewal itself, transformation, balance, and the slow, steady return of strength. There is a quiet truth about aging that few are told. Muscle loss is not destiny, but dialogue. The body speaks through fatigue, stiffness, and slower movement, asking to be nourished, not ignored. When we listen, it answers with renewal. Dr. Shigeaki Hinohara, who lived past 100, used to say, "Eat light, move often, smile frequently, but above all, feed your fire." His words were not about diet, but about presence, the daily choice to support life, rather than merely endure it. Each bite, as Dr. Mark Hyman reminds us, is a decision between decline and regeneration. The foods that protect strength after 60 are not rare or expensive. They are seeds, oils, and fermented foods, quiet allies that restore balance where time has taken it away. Their task is simple: to help the body remember how to repair itself. Aging well does not mean resisting time, it means nurturing what still responds to care. To eat with attention is to choose independence, to protect the ability to stand, walk, and live with dignity. The body never forgets how to rebuild. It only waits for kindness, consistency, and nourishment that says softly, "You still belong to life."